We wish to see Jesus. They're a group of Greeks, foreigners, and they come to Philip, one of the disciples, and say, "We wish to see Jesus." And Philip is not sure what to do. Greeks? Really? Are we going to waste the master's time with a bunch of foreigners? So he goes to consult Andrew, and they go to talk to Jesus. Looks like it's safety in numbers. But if a foreign tourist came up to you as you were walking into church today and said, "We wish to see Jesus," what would you say? Well, you might be a bit perplexed, but hopefully you'd invite them into church. But if they came up to you on the street far away from here, or at your workplace, or a neighbour across your fence, and they said to you, "We wish to see Jesus," well, first of all, you might think they're a little bit crazy. But if they insisted, if they said that they really want to see and to know and to experience Jesus, well, you might answer them as some of you did today for the children. You might say, "Look in a mirror," or "Look at the people serving morning tea," or "Look at our prayers." Or you might say, "When I look after my grandchildren and I see their delight playing on the beach, I know the joy of Jesus." Or when I sit with someone as a volunteer at the hospice, I know the courage of Jesus. Or when I serve one of the street people who come to the city mission for dinner, I experience Jesus as the one who is serving and as the one who is being served. When I rage in grief at the loss of someone who died too young, I hear the words of Jesus, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" When I've achieved something at work or school that was complicated, that took all my focus, I hear the parables of Jesus from everyday work situations, like the farmer or the vine grower or the merchant or the woman at the well. Or when after all those years of protest apartheid ended in South Africa, I saw the justice Jesus preached about. And you might say, "Well, I want to see Jesus too. Jesus often seems elusive and other times so present. And so I come to worship, to be in community, to seek nourishment and to know him." I'm sure you can think of lots of other answers that you might give to that question. We wish to see Jesus. You could talk about the sermons that we've heard over the last month as we've journeyed together through Lent. How Carolyn Kelly spoke about the wilderness, how sometimes we need to be lost to be found, and how the city around us can be a wilderness where we are lost, or it can be a wilderness where we find life and energy. You could tell them about how George Armstrong showed us how to see Jesus as a prophet and how we can see him in the prophetic actions of others who name things as they are. How Helen Jacobi described Jesus as the zealot, calling out the actions of the powerful and challenging the less powerful in our assumptions and beliefs. How Michael Bell shows us that we can see and hear and feel Jesus in our music as we gather for worship. Michael said there's a change in quality which is difficult to explain between a love song and a song about God as love. So he would play them a song about God's love. We wish to see Jesus. What would we say? A couple of weeks ago, some of us went to hear a speaker from the United States, Lillian Daniels, who was here speaking at St. John's College. She writes and speaks about people who are called SBNR, spiritual but not religious. SBNR. She said, in trying to accommodate the spiritual but not religious and many others who do not come to church, the church has developed a script that goes something like this. Well, you can just come. Nothing's required of you. You don't have to do or to think anything in particular. And so we thought of you. And because that sounds really underwhelming, we add, well, our church has great music, as if there's nowhere else that people can find great music in their lives. Our church has great people, as if there's nowhere else people can meet great people. And then she pointed out that we're actually lying because we don't actually really think all the people who come to church are that great at all. And we're not answering the question, which is, where can we see Jesus? What is it about our life and experience of faith which draws us here? What is it that we value in our own faith which makes us want to share that faith with others? Now, I know in our very secular Aotearoa New Zealand context, it's really hard to talk openly about our faith. Faith is ridiculed and belittled all the time in the media and in the public domain, and so we feel really awkward. But new people show up here every Sunday and in my office during the week looking for something, looking for Jesus. So how do we answer? What do we offer? Going back to the original story with the Greeks and Philip and Andrew buddying up for support, what answer does Jesus himself give? Well, we don't know if the Greeks actually ever got to see Jesus. We don't know if he said, yep, sure, bring them on in. Jesus says instead to Philip and Andrew, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Which doesn't really seem to be an answer to the question. And then he says, those who lose their life will save it. And that's not an answer either. Or is it? Jesus' answers are about himself and about those who will follow him. Jesus will lose his life and find it. And in baptism, we are called to die to that which separates us from God and to be born anew. Over and over again in each liturgical cycle of our year, at the beginning of Lent, we are marked with ash. And then we walk this Lenten road to the cross and come through to the other side, like a grain that dies in order to bear fruit. So maybe in answer to that question, where can we find Jesus, we might say, well, I see Jesus best when I've decluttered my life of too many possessions. I see Jesus best when I've given a really decent donation to the Vanuatu appeal, even when I think I really can't afford it, and then I remember that I could just cut out some coffees and dinner out this week. I see Jesus best when I sacrifice some time to help a neighbour who actually, most of the time, I find really annoying. Or I see Jesus best when I lose myself in the music on a Sunday morning. And then what about us as a faith community together? What image do we project? How do we present ourselves to the city and to the neighbourhood? When the city comes calling and wants to know what we are about, do we know? Can we answer the question? As we gather for our annual general meeting this morning, we have had some written reports which tell us something of what we are about. They're an important record of our activities over the last year. Are they any help to us in the conversation which begins, "We wish to see Jesus"? We'll find out together as we talk together after our service.